History's Heroes presents Matt Urban, the Ghost of Relentless Valor. In honor of the forgotten soldiers, history remembers the heroes whose names made the papers, but not always the ones who stood beside them. Throughout Matt Urban's legendary campaigns, men like Lieutenant Charles Brenner, Sergeant Joseph Lambert, Lieutenant Colonel George A. Smith Jr., and Colonel John Bowen fought with equal valor, leading charges, holding lines, and laying down covering fire so that others might live. Due to lost records, including the devastating 1973 fire at the National Personnel Record Center, much of their personal history has faded into shadow. We may not know the day they were born or the place that they died, but we know what mattered most. They were there, shoulder to shoulder with Urban, bleeding, enduring, fighting for freedom. Their names live on here, not just in print, but in honor. History's heroes would like to take a moment to remember the fallen, whose names and legends were lost in time. He charged through enemy fire with a bullet in his neck, led men into battle while wounded, and returned time and time again when others would have stayed down. Yet for decades, few remembered his name. This is the story of Lieutenant Colonel Matt Urban, the most decorated combat soldier in American history. Chapter 1: The Making of a Warrior, Buffalo, New York. Matt Louis Urban Auschwitz was born August 25, 1919 in Buffalo, New York, the son of Polish immigrants. Athletic, driven, and headstrong, he boxed, ran track, and played football. After enrolling at Cornell University, he joined the Army ROTC program. The war in Europe was escalating, and Matt Urban was preparing for his place in history. Commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1941, he dropped the Polish surname and became Matt Urban. As the nation prepared for war, so did he. Chapter 2: North Africa, Baptism by Fire, Tanzania, Africa, November 1942. In November 1942, Urban and the 2nd Battalion, 60th Infantry Regiment, 9th Infantry Division landed in North Africa during Operation Torch. Under the command of Colonel John Bowen, Urban's baptism by fire came near El Guitar, Tanzania, a dusty, sun-scorched battleground pitted against the German African Corps under General Jürgen von Arnim. Their objective was to push east and pressure Rommel's retreating forces. The terrain was open, exposed, ideal for German artillery. During one push, an M3 Stuart tank was stuck and immobilized. Enemy fire was pinning down the American advance. With no regard for his own life, Urban sprinted into the line of fire, scaled the burning tank, and took over the gun turret himself. Raining fire on the enemy's positions, his actions turned the tide, buying precious time for his men to maneuver and repel the German position. For his valor, he received his first Silver Star. Urban was no longer just an officer, he was a soldier. After the battle, the Allies secured southern Tennessee and began preparations for the assault on Sicily. Urban's unit was reassigned for an amphibious operation, giving him a short period to heal, but not to rest. Chapter 3: Sicily and the Road to Normandy, July 1943. On July 10, 1943, Allied forces launched Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily. Urban's 60th Infantry hit the beaches near Gila. The enemy entrenched in ridges above made every inch of the ground lethal. Urban led Company E in a flanking maneuver around a heavily defended ridgeline. Climbing a steep terrain under sniper fire and booby traps, Urban took a grazing bullet to the head. Bleeding and dazed, he kept advancing, urging his men forward. According to fellow officers like Captain Earl Rudder, Urban's refusal to retreat inspired the men to push through. The German line broke by dusk. He earned his second Silver Star. This became his pattern. Get wounded, get patched, return to the fight. After Sicily was secured, Allied attention shifted to Italy, but Urban's regiment returned to England to prepare for the D-Day invasion. Morale was high, but so were the stakes. Urban would soon face his greatest of trials yet. Chapter 4, The Legend of St. Lo, July 1944, Operation Cobra, The Hedgegroves, Normandy. In July 1944, as part of Operation Cobra, the 9th Infantry advanced towards St. Lo, a pivotal crossroads in Normandy. The terrain was a nightmare. Bombed-out villages, hedgerows, hiding machine gun nests, and rubble-filled streets. Lieutenant Colonel George A. Smith, Jr. was in command until he was wounded. Matt Urban, still recovering from a neck wound sustained weeks earlier in Relentless, refused to stay behind. He checked himself out of the hospital and rejoined the 2nd Battalion. Forced from surgery, he couldn't speak above a whisper. But he led louder than any words could. When German armor threatened the flank, Urban picked up a bazooka and crawled toward an approaching tank. Wounded again, this time in the leg, he refused evacuation. His assault knocked out 2 tanks, and he continued directing from behind the rubble. St. Lo fell days later. Urban was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. His men, some who had written him off as dead. It was during this campaign where Urban would disappear and reappear on the battlefield like a phantom, where he defied death over and over. Soldiers started calling him the Ghost. To the Germans, he seemed unkillable. To his men, he was the spirit of victory itself. The fall of St. Lo opened the way for rapid Allied breakthrough in northern France. Urban's battalion was tasked with clearing key roadways and holding back counteroffensives from German reinforcements. The pace of the war accelerated, and so did the risks. Chapter 5, Kirkbrand Forest, Blood in the Trees, November 1944. November 1944, Kirkbrand Forest, a battle historians call the longest in American history. Mud, barbed wire, and unrelenting German mortar fire defined it. Urban's unit pushed towards the town of Grametta. Leading the advance was Lieutenant Charles Brenner. His squad walked into German artillery trap. Brenner was killed instantly. Sergeant Joseph Lambert tried to pull back the wounded but vanished into the fog of war. He was never seen again. Urban was struck in the chest by shrapnel. Coughing blood, he dragged himself to a field radio and continued directing artillery. Despite everything, freezing cold, fatigue, and wounds stacking upon wounds, Urban remained in command. His actions in Hurtgen would earn him an additional Purple Heart and Bronze Star. His legend spread not by tales but by scars. The Battle of Hurricane Forest continued into December and ultimately cost 33,000 American lives and wounded thousands more. Urban's company was rotated out by early 1945 to rebuild its shattered strength. History remembers the generals, but we honor the brothers in arms. Colonel John Bowen, Lieutenant Colonel George A. Smith, Jr., First Lieutenant Charles Brenner, Sergeant Joseph Lambert. Some names are carved into stone, others were lost in the noise of war. By war's end, Matt Urban's decorations read like a chapter from a legend. 7 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, 1 Bronze Star, a Legion of Merit, a Croix de Guerre from France, a Croix de Guerre from Belgium. But one medal eluded him, the Medal of Honor. Due to administrative errors, his nomination was lost in the shuffle. It wasn't until 1979, when a fellow officer resubmitted it, that justice caught up. In 1980, President Jimmy Carter placed the Medal of Honor over his neck and said, "No one ever deserved it more." After the war, Matt Urban did not seek the spotlight. He married Jenny Sawaki. Though they never had children, they dedicated their lives to service. Urban became a recreational director and counselor for disabled veterans and at-risk youth in Michigan. He believed his duty didn't end with the uniform. He passed away on March 4, 1995, at the age of 75, buried with honors at Arlington National Cemetery. He wasn't flashy, he wasn't famous, but in every sense of the word, Matt Urban was a hero, a man who bled for his country and lived for its people. This is not just his story, it's the story of every soldier who gave more than they were asked, of those who came home changed, and those who did not come home at all. History doesn't just echo, unless someone shouts it into the silence. If Matt Urban's legacy was nearly lost once, it can happen again. Be the voice that keeps his fire alive. Make sure to share this video. Subscribe to join us as we uncover new stories that history tried to bury. Until next time, thank you for watching the 4th episode of History's Heroes. Bye-bye.